What would you do if you found out your husband married someone else while you were in the kitchen cooking his dinner? Would you scream? Would you cry? Or would you go very, very quiet and start building something he could never take from you? Her name is Ngozi, and this is her story.
There is a kind of woman the world never sees coming, not because she is quiet, but because while everyone is watching the noise, the shouting, the crying, the drama, she is in a corner somewhere building something they will never be able to take from her. Ngozi was that kind of woman. But she did not start that way. She started the way most women start, with love. Pure, uncomplicated, embarrassing in its wholeness. The kind of love that makes you rearrange your entire life around another person without even noticing you are doing it. She met Emeka in her final year at the University of Abuja. He was tall, sharp-minded, the kind of man who walked into a room and immediately understood its geometry. He made her laugh. He made her feel chosen. And when he asked her to marry him on a quiet evening beside the Jabi Lake, with nothing but a simple ring and very serious eyes, she said yes before he finished the sentence. That was 12 years ago. In those 12 years, Ngozi built everything. She built their home in Maitama, choosing the tiles, the curtains, the color of every wall. She built their family, 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, all of them carrying Emeka's eyes and her stubbornness. She built his social life, cooking for his colleagues, entertaining his superiors, remembering the names of wives he himself had already forgotten. She built his confidence on the days his government career felt uncertain, sitting with him at the kitchen table at midnight, talking him back into himself. She poured herself into that marriage the way water fills a container, completely, taking its shape, leaving no space unfilled. Emeka rose, deputy director at 41, a name people mentioned in certain conversations, a man whose handshake meant something, and Ngozi stood beside him at every function in her best Aso Oke, smiling the smile of a woman who knew exactly what she had contributed to everything people were celebrating. She thought they were happy. She was wrong. She found out on a Tuesday, not from a phone call, not from a suspicious message. She found out the way most truths find their way to the surface eventually, through a small, ordinary crack. Her younger sister called from Enugu, casual conversation, and then in the middle of talking about something else entirely, her sister said, I heard Emeka did introduction in Enugu last month. Is it for his junior brother?" The room did not spin, the ground did not open. Ngozi simply sat very still on her kitchen chair and said, "Yes, his junior brother." She hung up the phone. She sat in the kitchen for a long time. The pot of agusi soup she had been making was still on the stove, bubbling quietly. The smell of crayfish and palm oil filled the air, completely normal, completely unchanged. Only everything was different. She did not cry that night. She did not confront Emeka when he came home at 8 o'clock with his tie loosened and his easy smile. She served him dinner, she listened to him talk about his day, she watched him eat the food she had made, and felt something inside her go very, very quiet. Not the quiet of defeat, the quiet of decision. In the weeks that followed, Ngozi did 2 things simultaneously. The first thing she did was confirm everything, quietly, carefully, without drama. A cousin in Enugu, a few careful questions, the name of the woman, 26 years old, a banker, pretty in the photographs. The introduction had been 3 months ago. The traditional wedding was already being planned. 12 years, 3 children, and he had looked her in the eye every single day. The second thing she did was open a small notebook. She had always loved to cook. Everyone knew it. His colleagues requested her jollof rice by name. His director's wife had once asked her, half-jokingly, to cater her daughter's engagement. She had laughed it off then. She did not laugh it off now. In that notebook, she wrote down everything she knew, every recipe, every supplier she had mentally noted over the years, every event she had attended, and quietly observed the catering and thought, I could do this better. She wrote down numbers. She wrote down names. She wrote down a business name she had been turning over her mind for years without ever taking seriously. Golden Table Catering. She did not tell Emeka. She did not tell anyone. She simply began. The first event was her neighbor's daughter's graduation party. 200 guests. Ngozi and her housegirl and her sister worked through the night. The food was extraordinary. Not just good, but the kind of food people talk about on the drive home. The kind that makes someone pull out their phone before they have even swallowed and ask for the contact of whoever made this. Her phone rang for a week after that party. The second event was a corporate dinner for a telecommunications company. 50 guests. She hired 2 extra hands. She bought proper serving equipment. She wore a uniform she had designed herself. Simple, elegant, branded. The third event was a wedding. 400 guests. She brought in a small team. She managed every detail with the same precision she had spent 12 years applying to someone else's life. By the end of the first year, Golden Table Catering had a waiting list. By the end of the second year, she had moved into a proper commercial kitchen in Wuse and hired 8 full-time staff. By the end of the third year, her company was catering government functions. Government functions, the same circles her husband moved in, the same events he attended, the same rooms where people shook his hand and said his name with respect. Now they were also saying hers. Emeka noticed. Of course he noticed. But what could he say? She was not neglecting the home. She was not neglecting the children. She was simply building. He told his friends she had a small catering thing she was managing. He said it the way men sometimes described their wives' work, fondly, minimizingly, as though it were a hobby that had gotten slightly out of hand. Ngozi heard him say it once at a dinner party and smiled into her wineglass. Let him call it small, she thought. Small things grow. In the fourth year, the other woman became a wife. Officially, traditionally, legally. Ngozi knew the date before Emeka told her. She had known for weeks, and on that Saturday, while Emeka was in Enugu at his second wedding, Ngozi was in Lagos closing a contract with a hotel chain that would make Golden Table Catering the exclusive provider for all their events in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. She signed the contract at 11 in the morning. At 11 in the morning, somewhere in Enugu, Emeka was tying his agbada for another wedding. She drove back to Abuja alone, the radio playing, the highway long and open in front of her, and she felt something shift in her chest. Not grief exactly, but a kind of settling, like a building finally finding its foundation. She understood something clearly in that car on that highway. She had spent 12 years making herself smaller to fit inside someone else's definition of who she should be. Supportive wife, background woman, the one who made the food and arranged the room and remembered the names so he did not have to. She was done being small. The call came on a Friday evening in the 5th year. Emeka's voice on the phone was different, quieter, the sharpness gone out of it. Ngozi, we need to talk. She had been expecting it. The second marriage had not gone the way he imagined. The young banker had her own ideas about life. There had been conflict, there had been embarrassment. His superiors had heard things. His carefully constructed image had developed cracks. And now he was calling the woman he had left standing, the woman who had not fallen, because he had finally noticed she was still standing. Come to my office, she said simply. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. He arrived at Golden Table Catering headquarters, a full floor of a building in Garki, sleek and professional, her name on the door in gold lettering, and she watched his face as he walked in, watched him take in the reception desk, the staff moving purposefully, the meeting room visible through glass walls. She had her assistant bring tea. She sat across from him in her boardroom, in her building, built with her hands, her sleepless nights, her quiet fury turned into something unbreakable, and she let him talk. He talked for a long time about mistakes, about foolishness, about the things a man tells himself to justify what he knows is wrong, about how he had not understood what he had until it was, he searched for the word, until it was different. She listened. She had always been a good listener. When he finished, she opened the folder that had been sitting on the table between them since he arrived. I had these prepared 6 months ago. I was waiting for the right moment. He looked at the papers. His face changed. Divorce papers. Clean. Fair. Her lawyer had made sure of that. Ngozi, I am not angry, Emeka. And she meant it. The anger had burned a long time ago and left something cleaner in its place. I want you to understand that. I am not doing this from hatred. I am doing this because I finally know what I am worth, and I cannot go back to a version of myself that did not know that. He sat with that for a moment. Outside the glass walls of her boardroom, her staff moved through the office. Her company, her name in gold on the door. He picked up the pen. The children stayed with Ngozi, by choice, theirs and his. He visited every other weekend. They had learned, over the years, to be civil in the way that people are civil when they have shared something large and decided to lay it down without destroying each other. Ngozi did not remarry, not because no one asked, they asked, but because for the first time in her adult life, she was completely, entirely, unapologetically her own, and that felt like something worth protecting. Golden Table Catering expanded into 4 cities by the time her eldest son finished secondary school. She was profiled in 2 business magazines. She employed 43 people, most of them women. She kept the notebook, the original one, with the shaky handwriting and the crossed-out numbers from those first desperate weeks. She kept it in her desk drawer. On the days when things were hard, and there were hard days, there were always hard days, she would open it and read the first line she had written. Just 3 words. Let him call it small. The Yoruba say, Owo eni la fin tun iwa ara eni she. It is with your own hands that you rebuild yourself. No one can hand you back what was taken from you. But if you are quiet enough and patient enough and brave enough to begin, you can build something new from the same hands that were once busy holding someone else up. Ngozi knew this. Now you do too. If this story moved you, leave a comment and tell me, would you have stayed quiet and built, or would you have walked away the moment you found out? I read every single comment, and I want to know what you would have done. If you are new here, welcome. My name is your narrator, and this fire has been burning a long time. Subscribe and stay close, because the next story I am bringing you is one that has been sitting with me for weeks. It is about a man who gave everything he had to a woman who was not who she said she was, and the moment he discovered the truth, changed both their lives forever. Until then, know your worth. Build anyway, and never ever let anyone call what you are building small.